So I'm going to get started doing our bit of our intro. So as people join, they'll just kind of get caught up. But if you just joined us, fill out that poll, let us know where you're joining from. And we want to make the most of this hour together because this content that Jordan previewed with me just now in our backstage is really, really solid. So I want to pass the mic over to him as quickly as possible. Today, he's going to teach us about the no application remote job search strategy. So excited to learn more about that. I am your host and moderator today. My name is Sam LaLiberty. When I don't have the pleasure of hosting SafetyWing webinars and events like this, I have my own podcast and community called The Freedom Lifestyle. And that's where I teach people about schedule freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. So I'm also very interested to hear Jordan's perspective on this because, location freedom is going to be a big part of today's conversation. So if you don't know Jordan Carroll yet, aka the remote job coach, Jordan creates content, courses, and coaching programs to help high performers learn a process to land legitimate remote jobs and gain more freedom and flexibility in their lives. He's worked remotely since 2013 in different capacities. He's worked for a Fortune 50 company, multiple startups, had his own businesses, and these unique experiences have enabled him to help thousands of remote job seekers with his methodologies to find success in the job search. Jordan has lived and worked from over 15 countries on 5 continents and is the author of the best-selling book, Remote for Life. So we are in very good hands today with Jordan. Perfect timing on that book. We are going to be doing Q&A at the end. So as you see, there's a chat box and there's also a Q&A box. If you have any questions for Jordan as you're going through, like, oh, I'd love to go deeper on this, or you didn't mention this, but I'm curious, please put it there. I'm going to come back at the end. We'll do a little fireside chat with your top questions. If this is your first SafetyWing webinar, welcome. If you don't know SafetyWing, we have a vision of building a global social safety net for remote workers and nomads. So I know some of you are already remote workers, some of you are aspiring remote workers and nomads. Well, SafetyWing is creating a suite of products with all of us in mind. And we have a mission of becoming your home country on the internet and removing any type of geographical barriers to prevent someone from accessing equal opportunities and freedom for everybody. Our most popular product and what we're most known for is Nomad Insurance. And Nomad Insurance protects you with affordable health and medical coverage whenever you're working outside of your home country, which if Jordan's going to make you a remote worker, before you know it, you are going to be working outside your home country. And, you sadly might need medical coverage, travel coverage. So perhaps an accident happens while you're traveling, you fall sick. This is the type of coverage that SafetyWing helps you with. Maybe you have a travel delay, lost luggage, these types of things. It works just like a subscription. So every month that you're traveling, you'll get an automatic payment charged to you. Super easy, super breezy. And this is just the beginning. There's a number of other products already launched and in store. So on that note, Jordan, I'm going to pass it over to you to share your screen.
All right.
I'll also do the results of the poll so you can know who is in the room today.
All right. Let's see. We got
good mix.
Yeah, a pretty good mix here. Some folks that have a fully remote job, a hybrid job, looking fine. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so glad. And Sam, I'm ready to go. You ready to go? You ready to listen? I'm
already listening.
Boom, got it. Well, I'm so excited to have all of you here. Thank you for spending this Tuesday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is that you are. Maybe it's even the next day. I don't know, next day for some people. We're going to go through a lot of stuff today. So really prep your mind to take out the most important nuggets. And I'll be looking at that chat and making sure that I'm understanding what's resonating for you. So as we go through this, I want this to be interactive. I don't like just talking to a screen without knowing what you're thinking. So as we go along, I'm going to also ask some questions. So feel free to use the chat for that, and then make sure that you're asking questions as well in the Q&A for after. So we're going to talk today about the no application remote job search strategy, which is an interesting title in some ways, right? Because most people think that you are going to be applying to jobs. But what's the goal that I want to get across? It's basically 3 different action items that you can use to get hired remotely that are not applying to jobs. Okay? 3 action items to get hired remotely without applying for jobs. I want to talk a little bit about myself. Yes, that is a picture of me. I know it doesn't look like me. Some people have called me out on that and said that this is a fake picture. It is not a fake picture. It is a picture that is a little bit older, and I still like it, so I still use it. My name is Jordan Carroll, aka the Remote Job Coach. I've been remote since 2013 in various different situations, whether that be with a Fortune 50 company, with startups, with my own businesses. I've lived in 15 plus countries on 5 continents, and I really view that remote work has been the thing that has saved my life. Why do I say that? It's so dramatic. Remote work saved my life. Well, remote work is the tool, it is the catalyst, it is the enabler for me to find my way out of the most depressing times of my life, to find my way out of substance abuse, to find my way out of anxiety and things that are just really difficult in life. I always found that remote work was that vehicle. It was that vehicle that allowed me to have more space in my day for other things that I really enjoyed, for those non-negotiable things that made my life better. So remote work can be that tool for you to have a better life. I really, really believe that. Thousands of different people have used my methodologies, whether that be through my book, as we talked about, through my courses, through my content that's online. And so without those people being impacted and sending me the messages, without me being able to be here with you today to talk about this stuff and to help change your life, none of this means anything to me. Because really giving and being able to get that email from that random person who said, hey, I'm able to go live near my parents now and take care of them in the later stages of their lives. I'm able to foster dogs. I'm able to go live with my significant other who lived in a completely different state because of some of the things that you've helped me with. Those are real clients that have come to me and said those things. And nothing that I do would be worth anything if I didn't get those messages. So what do I mean by no application? Well, I basically mean that in the way that we look for jobs, which we're never really taught to do. If you think about high school, if you think about university, if you think of different ways that you've learned about isosceles triangles and a bunch of other meaningless stuff that you learn in school, they don't teach you how to search for a job, right? So a lot of us go through this process learning ourselves or kind of learning online. And there's this thought that going on job boards and just applying for jobs is the way to conduct a job search. I'm here to tell you, no, it's not a way to conduct a job search. Certainly there is value to job boards. But what I think is even more valuable is coming up with a strategy. Figuring out every time you open your laptop, you've got some sort of strategic vision of how it is that you're going to complete this task, of how it is that you're going to find this vision that you have, and what are the steps that you need to take. Instead of just opening your laptop and being like, well, what the hell do I do today? Let's go check on all these job boards. It's actually identifying different steps that you can take that are going to produce huge results for you. It's about branding. It's about articulating yourself on the internet as the option, the only option for companies that need your services or your help, because you, at the end of the day, are a product that you're selling. It's about networking. It's about creating relationships at these organizations that you want to work at, right? Finding the end, getting referred. Those are the things that make a big difference. So we're going to have another quick poll here. And I just want to understand, out of these 3 things that I've explained, the strategy piece, the branding piece, the networking piece, where do you feel like you're most stuck? What do you feel like is the most challenging out of these 3 things? We're going to give you about a minute or 2 here to just pick one. If you find that one is the most challenging. Strategy is the overarching way in which you're conducting on a day-to-day basis, a week-to-week basis, a month-to-month basis. What are the things that I'm planning and executing on? Branding is how it is that you're articulating yourself to the world, what it is you're presenting to other people, how you're optimizing your LinkedIn, for instance, your resume, those types of things. Networking is how am I interacting with the people who are going to be stakeholders in me getting a job? How do I know what to say to those people? How do I know how to develop those friendships and those relationships? Let's see those results if we can. Okay, so it's pretty mixed again, mostly strategy, which is understandable because you could even say that branding and networking is a part of strategy, right? So totally understand that, and I'm glad to get those results. And as we go further in have your fingers ready to type in the chat, because I'm going to ask you some more questions that are more specific, right? This is a picture of me on the left. Again, this is me. I know a lot of people, like, you don't look like this, hair is a little bit longer. Pandemic did some things to me, for sure. This was a picture of me on a remote year trip. Anybody familiar with remote year? Who knows what remote year is? Type in the chat if you know what remote year is, yes or no. Let's see how many people know what remote year is. Yes, no, yes. We got a few yeses. So remote year is a company that organizes travel programs for people that work remotely. So you pay remote year a monthly fee. They set up the apartment in a new city, new country every single month. New apartment. They set up the community, events. They take care of all the travel, all that. It's like digital nomadism in a box, right? You pay them, they help you become a digital nomad. I heard of this company. I was like, I want to work for this company. Oh my God. They're fully distributed throughout the world. They hire from anywhere. Their programs are helping people work remotely and travel to different countries every month. How cool is that? I'm talking to the guy. I actually set up a phone call because I'm like, I actually want to do remote year too. And I thought in my head, what would be the best way to work at remote year? Do a program, right? What if I did a program? And then during the program, I started networking with the people at remote year. I started putting in a word about myself. I showed them who I was. And that worked. Because by the time I was at the end of my 4-month program, 2 different people submitted my resume for me for this job. And I ended up as a program consultant for remote year for over a year, traveling the world with them and without them. But having a fully remote job. And I looked at that, and I kind of thought about all the different jobs that I've had, the different remote jobs that I've had, because I've had multiple remote jobs, and I've had multiple environments in which I've worked in, and every single one of them, I was practicing the stuff that I'm preaching today. Optimizing my personal brand, creating some sort of strategy, and networking, finding the people in the organizations that were going to refer me and have my back. So I want to teach you what I learned from all those experiences in a very digestible way and give you things that you can do today. You take action on all the things I talk about today. That's very important. So let's first talk about strategy. And I want to start each of these sections with the mistakes, because sometimes just having awareness of the mistakes can help you understand what you may be doing wrong. And a lot of people out there are going throughout their job search and they have absolutely no context to what mistakes they're making. So the first one is that your mind is actually going against you. Has anybody out there, and put in the chat if this is true, has anybody out there thought that they would fail at something and then they did fail at it? Type fail in the chat if that's happened to you. It's like you go into something, you're like, I'm probably not, this probably isn't going to happen. And then it doesn't happen, right? Probably all of us, right? And sometimes this is very subconscious. This is something that's like way in the back here where it's like, it's driving every single thing that we do. It's like, oh, you're going to fail. It's like that little voice, right? You're like, hey, shut up. Stop saying that. I don't want to fail. Why are you saying this to me? But the reality is that we have these subconscious thoughts that dictate and drive our life. One of those is this mindset of failure. So a lot of people go into a job search, especially a remote job search, with all of the baggage and all of the shit in their life and the results that they've gotten so far. And then in their head, they're like, oh, this isn't going to work for me. If you go into a job search thinking that, you're going to fail. So the first mistake is that mindset of failure. The second one is not having any clarity to what it is that you want to do, what type of company you want to work for, what type of industry you want to work in. This sometimes sounds like, I'll take anything that's remote. I'll do anything as long as it's remote. Who's ever caught themselves saying that? Like, I'll take any remote job. I will tell you this, I've had clients who've gotten remote jobs who have been absolutely miserable. So not having that clarity in those things is a huge mistake, to not take the time to do that. Another thing is just going through all the job boards. And that's the only part of your strategy. It's like, I'm going to open up weworkremotely.com. I'm going to open up Remotive. I'm going to open up Flex Jobs. And I'm just going to search through, I'm going to look at LinkedIn, and I'm just going to search through and see what the job board gods have for me today. If you're relying on those job board gods to deliver you to the job heaven, remote job heaven, it's getting some analogies in here, then you're not going to have a great time. You might go to remote job hell. And I've seen it happen with people that I've worked with. And some people just look like everybody else. The mistake is that you're doing your strategy like everybody else. You're looking online and you're just copying what other people are doing. You're just sending in your application. You're just waiting. You're not finding any differentiation in who you are to everybody else. So looking like everybody else is a big mistake. If you want the same result as 99% of the people, then look like everybody else. That's fine. Let's talk about how to solve these issues one by one. So first is the actual mindset of success. And I will tell you that this is the one that most people skip over, and they don't even think about, and they don't know how to do it. But your belief systems, being able to be aware of your belief systems, to question those belief systems, and then provide an alternative belief system for yourself, can be hugely beneficial in your life beyond everything, right? This actually isn't just for job searching. If there's anything in your life where you find that you have a limiting belief and you are agreeing to yourself that you're going to fail, that's going to be an issue. So what we need to do is deconstruct. First, you just need to have awareness of when those thoughts are creeping up in your head, right? When are the times that I am actually telling myself I'm going to fail? Because not hearing that voice and listening to it is usually the first thing. Like we gotta fix, right? Like let's figure out when it is that it's saying and what is it saying, and write it out. Get a journal. Write this stuff out. Figure out what it is that's going on in your head. Why do you have these beliefs? What are the assumptions that you're carrying about these things? Because sometimes all we need to do is just think about these assumptions and say, I need some evidence to prove that these assumptions are incorrect. And a lot of times that evidence is all around you. And it might be from things that you've done in your past. Think about past successes. How do you anchor yourself in how you've succeeded in the past and focus on success rather than focusing on what could go wrong and focusing on past failures? Clarity, getting extreme clarity. Start with the type of company and type of industry that you want to work in. Most people don't even think about this. They just look on those job boards. They find whoever's hiring remote for the type of role that they want. But let me tell you this, if you can get really clear on the industry that you serve, if you can get really clear on the type of company that you want to work for, if you can get really clear on the job title, the exact job title and type of skill set that you have that you want to market. Too many people out here are like, I can be a marketing guy, I could be a sales guy, I could be in operations, I could be a virtual assistant. No, companies do not want a jack of all trades when they are hiring for a specific position. They want someone who could do the job. They don't want someone who can half do the job and then do a bunch of other crap for them. So be very clear in what you're looking for. What's the vision? It's a company, a mid-sized company, 150 to 300 people. It's in the tech industry. They are in the insurance, they do insurance. I don't know, I might be just describing SafetyWing. And they hire from anywhere, right? Big piece, right? Figure out what your lifestyle is. What is your ideal lifestyle? And post this in the chat. What's your ideal lifestyle look like? Is it 100% remote where you can travel? Is it you want to work from home in your country? What's that ideal lifestyle for you? Think about that. Write that in the chat. What's the complete ideal lifestyle for you? I'm moving to different countries every month. I am living in Mexico, but I'm a US citizen or a Canadian citizen. I am working from home. How it is that you envision this ideal lifestyle determines the strategy that you choose. One more time, how you view your ideal lifestyle and how you create a clear vision of that determines what your strategy becomes. Because if you want to work from home in Arkansas, or you're from Indonesia and you want to travel the world, those are two very different job search strategies, because 95% of jobs have a geographical restriction. most companies have tax and legal restrictions and can't just hire anybody. So you need to figure out, based on that lifestyle, what type of company, what type of industry, what type of role, all this stuff is going to help you get your ideal lifestyle without you having to negotiate for it. That's the key. Some job seekers, for whatever reason, think that, okay, it says remote, but it's, it's not really remote. It's a couple days a week in the office, or, has this restriction, but I'm going to try to interview anyway. I'm going to apply anyway. And then I'm going to try to negotiate to be fully remote. Why? Start with the companies that will allow you to do it and support you. SafetyWing is one of those companies, by the way. They hire all over the place. So full-time work from home for Francis. Mohammed wants to work even doing his own business. These are all great things to know. Remote or hybrid in the Bay for Kate. Remote from country, so you could travel full-time. Yeah. Work from home, travel and visit Canada and Croatia. Because some companies will even allow you to take 30 to 60 days out of the country, right? And still maintain a certain contract status. Some companies are like, hey, you can't leave this state. You can't leave this city. So you really need to have that clarity. Okay, we spent a lot of time on that one, but that's a very important one. Third solution here is splitting up your job search so that job boards are not the only thing you're doing. Having a mix of job search activities that include things like networking, branding, building out the strategy. Spending some time on job boards is okay. So there's certain reasons that make a job board effective, but it's usually not the way most people are using it. The last part is having your own unique fingerprint on your job search. What makes you unique as a job searcher? What makes you unique as a potential employee? Really focusing on the differentiation that you have from everyone else. Because if you continue to try to look like everybody else, you're going to get the same results. Okay, let's look at this example. If you can scan this QR code, if you have your phone, take a look at this particular post from Tyler. This is an example of how you can use your strategy to get very, very targeted and to be very, very clear on what it looks like that you want. And then as you open this up, I want you in the chat to just tell me, what do you think is so effective about this post? And you can even see it here. It's a little bit small, but if you go to this, you can actually see the whole post. What's really effective about this post from Tyler from a strategic standpoint? What do you think really worked about this post? And I will say, if you look at the bottom, 300 plus people liked it, 129 comments, 21 shares. Asking for help from his network, yeah. What specifically about how he asked his network is I'll take that one step further, Fernando. What exactly about him asking his network is very effective here? Because you can ask your network, but there's certain ways of doing it that get results. There's certain ways of doing it that don't. Anyone else want to chime in here in the chat? Would love to see it. Very specific where you want to work. Yeah, look at this. He calls out the specific companies, the type of companies, future of work companies, and then the exact ones, right? Exact position, right? Executive customer success roles at B2B SaaS companies in the future of work. Look how incredibly clear that is. I'm targeting executive customer success roles at B2B SaaS companies in the future of workspace. Hey, companies that need this guy, yeah, say what he can do for the company. Exactly, Melissa. He's going to scale the customer team. He's going to improve the company's operational efficiency. He's going to directly impact the company bottom line. Within a week of this post, he had 16 different companies in his DMs talking to him. All of them for positions that were not on job boards. These were companies that were interested in talking to him because of this post, because of how he framed it, because of a lot of other things. I will also say, Tyler has been very active on LinkedIn for a long time. Tyler has put a lot of work into building his network. Tyler has positioned himself very well to have this post work. So I want you to keep that in mind, that there are other reasons and variables that made this really work for him, but there's also the principles of the clarity that I want you to understand. You may not be in the best position to make a post like this. I understand that. If you haven't really worked on your network, if you don't feel really clear on these things, but seeing how someone has done it successfully can help you internalize some of the lessons. So I want you to just remember that. Okay, let's go over branding. We just went through strategy. We talked about exactly what you can do within strategy. Let's talk about branding mistakes. So the first one is not understanding that a job search is actually a direct marketing exercise. You are the product. You are selling yourself. And there's a reason that most of the people that the people that I've worked with from a client perspective that have been able to convert their skills the best, most consistently, have been salespeople, because they understand that they are selling themselves. People in marketing as well. Everyone can do well at this, but you just need to understand that it's a direct marketing exercise. People using their own words. What do I mean by this? Within your personal branding, what you need to do is kind of look at how it is you're using certain words to articulate yourself. And in the solutions, I'll tell you how you can not just use your own words and not just come up with your own things. Third one here is not safe for work, right? Having stuff online within your personal brand that is not aligned to what types of companies would hire for you. You know, that could look like certain political statements you may not like. It could look like certain ways in which you show up online, interacting with other people, that type of thing. You want to be really conscious of that. And then the other one is just not being able to find anything about you. If you are unfindable, that is a huge missed opportunity, right? Because people are going to be searching you, especially when you are engaging with these companies and looking for a job. So what are the solutions? One is not necessarily to become a prostitute for remote jobs, but to put yourself for sale in some way. Think about how it is that you can incorporate a sales strategy in what you present to companies and to other people. You are always selling yourself. I'm selling myself right now to you in the way that I'm talking about my ideas, right? I'm selling my ideas, that these are good ideas. You should do these things, right? In the way that you communicate on a daily basis, you are also always selling people. You're selling people on the clothes that you wear, the ideas that you have. So just understanding that this is at the foundation of everything you do and putting yourself in a position to sell yourself is a really good idea. The second one is using job descriptions that are a good fit for you to extract keywords and phrases. Don't do more work than you have to. You don't have to do it all yourself. Go and find 5 to 10 job descriptions. Run them through a word cloud. There's a bunch of different word cloud software out there. Figure out what are the words that are being used the most, and then literally go in there and look at the bullet points for the requirements and for the skills. Take those bullet points and then just add your metrics and your experience. You can literally take them. If you're trying to write your whole resume yourself, it's a huge mistake. The solution is right in front of you. Reuse what these companies are saying. And when you start to use what the actual companies are saying, that's when you start to look like the right candidate. Say that you have a job description for a job that you really want to apply for. Use the exact bullet points and combine them with your experience and metrics in your resume for that specific job. Every single job that you go after, and it should be very few, I recommend quality over quantity, focusing really deeply on one company at a time, one job at a time, and customizing every little bit that you can to make yourself look like the exact candidate, right? LinkedIn, having an optimized and updated LinkedIn, one that has all of your information on it, one that has a lot of these keywords that we just talked about in it. Knowing how to interact on LinkedIn is also really, really key. There's a lot of ways that we can do that. I'll show you some more soon. And then also taking advantage of all of the ways that you can brand yourself. That could be doing videos. In that job description, there's a bunch of bullet points, right? Saying exactly what they want. Take one of those bullet points and create a short video about it. Create a podcast about it. Create a blog about it. Create a post about it. Leverage your picture, whatever it is that is your creative expression. Every single one of you has a creative expression. In the chat, I want to hear, what do you do creatively? Like, what's your favorite creative outlet? What do you like to to do? Do you like videos? Do you like writing? Do you like taking pictures? Do you like podcasting? What is the way, making music maybe? What is the way in which you put yourself out into the world? Instagram stories, nature photos, nice. Think about that. It's like, how can I combine my job expertise, my professional expertise, with a creative outlet? Okay. Creative expression, one more thing. Creative expression is the biggest missed opportunity for job seekers. Creative expression, being able to put yourself out there, because it creates that unique sense of who you are. It shows off your creativity and it shows off your expertise. And when companies search you, let's say that you were writing blogs about certain requirements that you were finding in these job descriptions, and then a company searches you and they find your blogs, and they're like, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. How much more does that put you in a position to be a better candidate than someone else who doesn't do that? Okay, here is another, the QR code here is for a LinkedIn headline builder. So LinkedIn headlines are one of the most SEO optimizable, easy things you can fix for your personal brand that you need to have locked in. Okay. This is an example from one of my clients of one that I interpret as good. So let's go through why it's good. One, there's an exact role title, data analyst, right? Saying exactly what it is that you can do. If you don't have an exact role title, then you want to focus on skills, overarching skills or industries, things like that. But having an exact role title is very helpful. Another one is job description keywords. When we ran a bunch of job descriptions through a word cloud, what we found was business analytics was coming up the most out of anything else. So we've got data analyst, business analytics, and then we're also focusing on KPIs and mechanisms. What are KPIs? What are mechanisms? KPIs are key performance indicators. These are things that show that you're successful in your role. Mechanisms are the things that you're doing, the levers that you pull that help bring about the results of those KPIs. So within this particular one, her ability to transform data to bring the tactical recommendations to those clients through analytical tools, through business insight, we used a bunch of different keywords in here. She was getting, after we redid her LinkedIn, about a week later, there was one 24-hour period where she had 7 recruiters reach out to her. Now, data analysis is a highly in-demand job, right? So you can imagine that there's some jobs out there that this kind of skill set is going to anchor that type of attention, right? So that may not be the case for you within your particular job, but still optimizing this for the outside world to see is a crucial part of your branding. And you can use that LinkedIn headline builder. It's free. Just download it. You can use that to help you create your own new LinkedIn headline. Okay. The last piece here is networking. Let's talk about networking mistakes. The first thing is thinking that networking only happens at events. It's like, I go to networking events and that's where I network with people. The other one is that you only network with the people that are around you. You know, you've got your connections and those are the people you talk to, those are the people you engage with, and that's kind of the extent of it, right? The third one here is taking. All of your networking is focused on taking, getting something out of the relationships, being transactional with your relationships. Only networking when you're needing something. The last part is having a very closed mindset, kind of like locking it in, saying, I don't need to meet anybody else. I'm kind of like in my own comfort zone, and that's it. In the chat, I want to hear, what do you think networking is? What is networking to you? What does it mean to network in general? Value addition. That's a good one, Mohammed. Expand your professional community and connections. That's great. Connect with other people in your industry. Relationship building. Love that. Making friends, creating partnerships. Love it. Yeah, these are all great. I think the first thing I want to point out is that within the solution, the first step of this solution is realizing that networking is the key to everything that you want in your life. Networking and relationship building, finding friends, value addition, reaching out genuinely, connecting with others for opportunities, engaging, connecting, whatever it is that you said that networking was, it is the main key in your life to everything that you ever want. You want a new significant other? Network. Want to find a job? Network. Need more clients? Network. Networking, the word, has gotten a bad rap at times for being a little bit sleazy or being whatever. But all the things that you said in the comments, that's what I find networking to be. It's just a word that we can use to describe relationship building, to describe being genuine, to describe making friends. And it's so easy to make friends online now. Even as introverts. Who's an introvert here? How many introverts do we have on the call? Who describes himself as an introvert? Yep. Okay, we've got a few. Rachel. Yeah. Introverts, you have no excuses. I'm sorry. You have no excuses, introverts, because with online networking, changes the ball game. It's one-to-one interaction, right? You can pre-qualify everyone. It's not going to a big networking event where it's like really charged for you and it's like uncomfortable and it's like, oh, who do I talk to? I'm losing all my energy, right? Like networking online can be so much easier for introverts especially. So keep that in mind. The second solution here is weak ties. Leveraging weak ties. Who knows what a weak tie is? What's a weak tie? Who could put a weak tie in the chat? You may be able to tell based on the graphic a little bit. What's a weak tie? Looking at you, Weston. Weston, you should definitely know this. But there's some other people. Connections are your connections. Great, Fernando. Yeah, exactly. When you don't tie your tie right. I love that, Roberto. A weak tie. Oh, Roberto, you win, man. That's my favorite response I've ever gotten to that. Yeah, you're taking it very literally. I love that. Okay, so it's second or third connections, right? Just like you said. Chandra Sekar. Hopefully I said that right. Yeah, weak ties are connections of connections. So if you look on LinkedIn, for instance, you'll see some people are second connection, they're third connection, all this. Everything you ever need in your life is in your weak ties, right? There's a weird, I don't know what you call it, like a theory out there that Kevin Bacon is only 7 connections away from all of us. Kevin Bacon is a famous US actor, has a great name too, Kevin Bacon. He is apparently 7 connections away from all of us, everyone in the world. That's pretty crazy to think about, right? So within those 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, yeah. So thinking about that just as a concept, it's like, who are in your second connections? Who are in your third connections that are just right there, that are just one introduction away, right? They're just one introduction away. Think about that and think about how you can leverage the value. Again, leverage providing value. And that's the next piece here, is that you are providing value to connections. You're not focused on just taking, you're focused on giving. There is a book by Adam Grant. It's called Give and Take. It talks about the dynamics of giving and taking in relationships. Who do you think? There's 3: givers, takers, matchers. Who do you think are the most successful? Givers, takers, or matchers? Historically, givers, takers, and matchers. Who's most successful? Okay, we got one for givers from Claudine. Givers or matchers? We got matchers, givers, okay. Who else? Matchers. I'm not seeing any takers, which is a good sign. It's not takers, it's not matchers, it's givers. Givers are the most successful out of the 3, statistically. People that focus on giving. Who is the least successful? Givers, takers, or matchers? The least successful. Givers, takers, matchers. Okay, we got a lot of takers. Takers, 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 takers. Givers! Givers are the most and least. That just blow your mind? Why is that? Because givers sometimes give without boundaries. They burn out. They give too much to where they have nothing for themselves. So a gentle reminder is that being a giver doesn't mean giving to the point that you can't give at all. Giving in these friendships and relationships and the way in which you interact with the world means providing that value in a way that still suits your boundaries. Just an important thing to think about, okay? Last part here is expanding, having the expansion in your mindset to be able to say, hey, I'm going to go find new communities to reach out to. I'm going to find new friends, being open, just being really open to networking opportunities because they are around you all the time. You're in line at a coffee shop. That is a networking opportunity. You can start a chat with the person in front of you or behind you. Going up to someone's dog to pet their dog, networking opportunity. You could talk to that person. You're in an airport bar, sitting there, the person next to you. We've all been in those situations where we don't say anything, right? And that's fine. You don't have to take every single opportunity to talk to somebody. But if you start seeing all of the interaction opportunities around you as what they are, opportunities, I know people who have talked in that situation where they're next to each other at a bar and ended up with a job because they just started a conversation, kept in touch with the person. This has happened to me. I went to the Forbes 30 Under 30 conference in 2016. At the time, I went with a couple of my friends and I was on the dance floor at a tequila bar and I'd started a conversation with a woman there, fully intending to hit on her. Did not go well, but that was okay because exchanged numbers, we kept in touch as friends. And she texted me one day. This was back in like 2017. She's like, hey, I'm looking for someone to do this particular job at my PR firm. Do you know anybody? And I'm looking at the job and I'm like, me? I go and meet with her and her husband. So I found out that she had a husband. Go and meet with her and her husband, who also was working in the business. Took one meeting. Got the job. You never know what those opportunities can bring. So be open to them happening. It doesn't mean you have to use every opportunity, but be open to those things happening. Here is a networking technique that if you said, Jordan, I hate you, your hair sucks, I've had an awful time on this webinar, I haven't learned anything, you're not funny. If you want to say all those things, I still want you to just take this one thing away. Just take this away at least, please. Network with this technique called the 5x5x5 technique. In the QR code here is a networking PDF. It's a guide that I wrote about how to network on LinkedIn. It's really good and it's free. But one of the things I talk about in there is this 5x5x5 technique. What is that? Well, the first one starts with 5 thoughtful comments. In your LinkedIn strategy, taking time every single day to leave 5 thoughtful comments. Why comments? Comments are the least barrier to entry to creating content. They're micro content. And every single one of those is like a little original idea that you can use. People can also see your headline. They can see you. So if you pick the right types of people to comment on, you can have a really great visibility, right? So the companies that are hiring, comment on their stuff. The people that work at the companies that are hiring that you want to work at, comment on their stuff. But what's a thoughtful comment? A thoughtful comment is something that's not, oh, this is great, right? Here is, I'm going to put this in the chat. This is my networking comment formula. And I'm going to explain it once I post it in here. Compliment plus perspective plus open-ended question. Open with a compliment, complimenting them on posting what they've posted. Add a perspective. What is something that you can add to the conversation that shows that you're an expert in whatever it is, or that shows that you have perspective to share? The last part is an open-ended question. Who knows what an open-ended question is? It's not what I just said, not what I just asked. What I just asked was not an open-ended question. An open-ended question is open to start a conversation. Yep. Answer is more yes, not a yes or no question. So you are giving people room to answer. What I asked, who knows what an open-ended question is? It's a closed question. because it's a yes or no. So we want to be asking questions that contribute to a conversation. Second one here, targeted connections, finding 5 targeted people to connect with. You can use those comments, right? You can go comment on someone's post and then follow up with a targeted connection. On LinkedIn, always add a note. Connect, add note. And then talk about the post. That's the conversation piece. You don't need to ask them for a job. You don't need to ask them to review your resume. Start building friendships. That's what's going to lead to these things working for you. Okay. The last one, a little counterintuitive, unfollow 5 people. Now, if you don't have a ton of LinkedIn connections, then maybe this won't resonate as much with you. But the overarching message is in all of our feeds, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, we have told that feed what to show us. So it is your job that when you see something that's not resonant with you, you see something that you don't want to see, you are unfollowing. And Fernando, yes, I would say 4 to 5 times a week. If you schedule this in to your calendar, 4 to 5 times a week. This whole process, the 5 comments, 5 connections, the 5 follows, take half an hour. And it will change your life forever if you do it. 100% will change your life forever. The 5 irrelevant unfollows. So any of the platforms that you have, I would recommend unfollowing people. Okay. And when you unfollow people on LinkedIn, you don't lose them as a connection. You just stop seeing their content. So if they have irrelevant content, that's the point, is you can maintain the connection, but you don't have to do that. Okay, so my goal at the beginning was give you 3 action items to get hired remotely. Did we accomplish that? Well, 1, for strategy, I showed you a post. You can create your own post. If you feel like it's something that you're ready for at this moment, even just writing out the post and not even posting it will help you get clarity on what it is that you're looking for. And you can use Tyler's as that example for yourself. Branding, work on your headline. I gave you access to the headline builder. So go in and create a new headline for your LinkedIn based on those specific tips there. And then networking, schedule in the 5x5x5, baby. You got this. Network. Make it part of your daily routine, or at least weekday routine, and make it something that you do consistently at the same time every single day, and watch everything change for you. If you have questions, let's cover those now. This is my book. It's out now. It is, like Sam had said, an Amazon bestseller. I spent years writing this book. It's about how to find a remote job. It's got a lot more specific stuff in there on how to help you. So if you're interested, feel free to get there. If not, totally fine too. I have a ton of free content on my website, theremotejobcoach.com. And now let's get into some questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jordan. Do you need a sip of water? Or are you ready to keep going?
Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Okay. Rebecca just put in a question, which I thought was really good, about how many followers should one have before practicing the unfollowing technique. Do you have an answer on that, or
there's no correlation? If you see someone that's irrelevant in your feed, you unfollow them. It's not about a numbers game. It's more about when you go to your feed on LinkedIn, how much is relevant to you? That's the question I want you asking yourself. If I go into my Instagram and I'm looking at stuff, like how much is relevant to you? This is mostly focused on LinkedIn. So here's the question I want you to pose is, if my LinkedIn feed were to completely support me in my job search, so that every time I open my LinkedIn on the homepage, everything was relevant as far as companies I'm interested, people I want to connect in, and things that are going to support the job search. Is that what's happening currently? And if that's not the case, then you're unfollowing the posts that aren't.
Awesome. You talked about LinkedIn quite a bit. Did you mention LinkedIn Premium? Is that something that you recommend people pay for? And are you?
I think as a job seeker, having LinkedIn Premium can really help in a lot of different ways. What I recommend is getting the free version first. There is a 30-day free trial with LinkedIn Premium and trying that out. So the biggest advantage of LinkedIn Premium from what I've seen as far as job seekers are concerned is that you won't get restricted for the amount of searches that you do, as well as people you can see, as well as messages that you can send. Although you can bypass the messaging thing by adding a note to connection requests. So if you add a note to a connection request, you can still message people without needing in-mails.
I think that's a really, really good point. I know in my LinkedIn, even now myself, I just don't accept people that don't come with a note now, because you just get so many random requests that I just look at my list and I quickly just scan for who wrote a note. I don't know if you're doing that too, Jordan, but I
I
think that's a
will.
great tip.
I'll add one additional thing is just adding a note isn't enough. You need to add a note. Like I get a bunch of sales, like I had notes in there for people trying to sell me stuff. And I can tell they're sending this to everybody. So in your note, this is why it's so important. You engage with their content first. You might even wait until they comment back, like they reply. And then once they've replied, then you send them the connection request with the note talking about the piece of content and the conversation you've had in the comments. That way it's all completely streamlined and relevant. The person sees your name. It's like, oh, I've seen this person in my notifications. I know who they are. Oh, and the message they're sending is referring to that thing. So there's no confusion.
Okay, great. Another question around remote work specifically. And so some people are not feeling like there are a ton of remote jobs to go around, especially ones that are fully. Let's say you're in a scenario where you found a dream job and in the end, after it was offered to you, it wasn't fully remote. How would you handle that situation? And do you feel like you can just brand yourself to be so desirable as talent that you can overcome that and they can accept you wanting to be remote?
No, don't do that. That's why my recommendation is to start with companies and start with like an extreme clarity on the companies and industry you want to work in and the lifestyle that you're desired. You should accept responsibility that you put yourself in that situation because you didn't do enough research ahead of time on what the type of company was. There are companies out there that are work from anywhere that are completely distributed. GitLab, SafetyWing is an example, Buffer, Doist. Like these companies are just fully distributed, don't have an office, don't plan on having an office. So you need to look at those companies, and there are smaller amounts and they are more competitive, but that's why you need all these other things. That's why you need the branding and the networking, right? But the strategy component is I'm not going to put myself in a position where in the interviews I'm finding out that they're not as remote as I need. That's where the clarity comes in before you even do any of this. It's like, what's the clarity that you need to determine what types of companies? And when you're identifying those companies, I saw that, using virtual numbers, no, like you don't want to ever have to lie to a company. You want everything to be honest. And in doing that, you're finding the companies that will allow you to be honest and allow you to live the lifestyle you want to live.
And in terms of identifying those exact companies, is it more just using remote job boards, or are you suggesting we take it one step further and doing our own research and kind of making a list of companies that are remote that have other characteristics we'd want?
Yeah, so first thing is like getting the clarity on like what type of company it would be, as well as the type of industry if possible. And then you can even do simple Google searches. So you could start with Google searches where it's like top X industry fully remote companies hiring from anywhere. You'll start to see like people have generated lists like this already. FlexJobs has lists like this. There are articles that have lists like this. You can use job boards for this feature. You can go to sorting on job boards to 100% remote or working from anywhere and use that to find the companies. You can go on LinkedIn. I have an article about this actually, and it's also in the book. But there's if you go on LinkedIn and you search Doist, for instance, and then you look at the Doist company profile, on the right-hand side, there is a company similar. If you look through companies similar to Doist, it's likely going to be a lot of remote work from anywhere companies because that's who's most like them. Zapier is another example. If you go find Zapier on LinkedIn, you're going to look on the right-hand side, companies that are similar. You're going to find a bunch of different ones. So that's where the clarity of like, oh, well, what's the industry? What's the type of company? What are the things that they do? Because if you're just making this big list of work from anywhere remote companies, then, I post work from anywhere jobs on LinkedIn every single week. I have a job board that I post them on as well. So like follow me on LinkedIn is also a good way. And yeah, Fernando, we just discussed that about how to find fully remote job, distributed job. That's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any comments around remote freelancer versus full-time remote worker? I feel like you've got a few different things going on, so I'm sure you've had multiple contracts at once.
Yep.
Is that a path that you ever recommend, and how could someone identify whether they should pursue the freelance route, which in my experience, can often be quicker in terms of finding a remote job and getting someone to give you a shot, or identifying whether I should be, full-time at one company?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. Also covered in the book. Just keep like throwing it back to the book. Because I just believe so
Yeah.
much in this book that I put together. But 100% freelancing can be a great way to do it. And I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It's about, again, the clarity. Like it all goes back to clarity. It's like, okay, if I live in a country that's been really difficult to find, potential remote jobs, and I would work on a contract basis with most companies anyway, figure out what that one skill is that you can do. Like that's the first step, is how do you look at your skills, and like which one is the most like monetizable, or which one is the most that you're comfortable with marketing yourself as, and then just focusing on like your current network. Like who could I do this for in my current network to either get testimonials or do it for cheap, and use that initial like test as like a test run of like, how can I create a service around this? How can I like bundle this into a package? And then, you're kind of owning your own business at that point, which is not what some people want. Some people can also freelance like long-term with one client, or some people can freelance with a bunch of different clients. So it really depends on your own situation, but freelancing is definitely a great route to also start.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Well, we only have a couple minutes left. Melissa wants you to go over the 5x5 again, please. Think you can recap it in a minute, or will that be in the replay that we're recording?
5 thoughtful comments, 5 targeted connections, 5 irrelevant unfollows. In the
5x5x5. Okay.
5x5 in the networking guide that I had on the screen. I've been using these QR codes. Hopefully people are using them, but in that I have it's also on my website. So if you go to my website into the free resources, you can find a lot of this stuff too. But yeah, it's comments, connections, unfollows.
Amazing. And this entire session has been recorded and will be up on our YouTube channel, as well as emailed to you. Every one of our webinars that we've been doing these basically weekly for the last few months, is on our YouTube channel. And our webinars are actually hosted by our SafetyWing ambassadors. So you probably noticed Jordan name dropped SafetyWing a number of times. And the reason why you're so familiar with us is because you're one of our ambassadors. And we would love to invite everyone on the call to become ambassadors as well. So we're going to include a link on that. But Jordan, maybe you could talk for a second about, why you became an ambassador of SafetyWing and what you get out of it.
Yeah, well, I'm also a client or a customer of SafetyWing. So I've used Nomad Insurance from SafetyWing for quite some time. And when they approached me and we spoke about doing an ambassadorship, it felt like a great opportunity, not only to have a platform to be able to do webinars like this or be included in like the content generation that SafetyWing does, but also as an affiliate marketing opportunity. So if you're interested in making money from referring SafetyWing, that is also a possibility with the ambassador program.
Absolutely. As you go on your nomadic adventures, your remote workers, you might be wanting nomad insurance yourself. And then it can be a great way for you to add an extra revenue stream as you're posting about this idyllic lifestyle, talking about how you're, traveling with confidence, and you can refer your friends to that. So we've included a link to our ambassador program. Thank you so much, Jordan. This has been awesome. All of our follow-ups will be sent via email in the next day or so. So thank you.
Hey, dance
Bye,
part.
everyone.
Yeah.